Hey, it's Scott Hamilton with Rockfile Radio, and I'm on the Zoom this afternoon with, a variety of people that I'm going to get themselves to introduce themselves. We got Jerry, who produced OGD. You've heard the songs on Rockfile Radio Ice. Guys, go around the building here and let's say who everybody is.
Hey, how you doing? Bobby Gavin, drummer for OGD, born in the Bronx. And I'm hooked up with my buddies in Manhattan years ago. We had two different bands, and it was a match made in heaven, and then we had a chance to get up to Dreamland and hooked up with Jerry, and the rest is history. And that's why the album is what it is.
Derek Dio Olivero from Brooklyn, New York. Guitar player and singer in OGD, formerly Outland.
I'm Dave. I'm the bass player. How are you? Thanks for being here.
And I don't think anybody knows who Jerry is, but Jerry, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done?
I will. Is this audio, video, or both?
Both.
All right. Well, I'm Jerry MAROTTA. I am a musician, drummer, composer, producer, bon vivant. Bon vivant pretty much really sums it all up. I have a long history of playing music professionally that dates back to 1973, otherwise known as back when the earth was still cooling. And I've been around, and I started out working, touring with a band really when I was 17, record on Columbia Records, and by about 75, I joined a band called Orleans, and we did a song called "Still the One," which at the moment is being used in an Applebee's commercial.
There you go.
By the way, not the first song that I'm on that was used by Applebee's.
Oh, really?
Applebee's likes me. Another one I know of is "You Make My Dreams Come True," which is a Hall & Oates song, and
Right.
I did that, and then I started playing with Peter Gabriel in 1977. About a month after the leader of Orleans quit the band, I somehow ended up with a situation where I had an opportunity to play with an English singer named Peter Gabriel. I had never heard of him or Genesis, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Orleans. I was like, the Doobie Brothers.
Right.
My thing was all R&B, black, Motown, and then like Doobie Brothers and Little Feat, I don't know, that kind of thing. Orleans. Right. But I took the job with Peter because my band broke up. I needed a gig. The music was completely off the wall. I'd never heard really anything like it. The first Peter Gabriel solo record.
Right.
Very strange music, and it paid well. Started out in England. I'd never been there, and it was a challenge. So at that point, I just started working, with all kinds of different people: Elvis Costello, Stevie Nicks, Hall & Oates, Cher, Paul McCartney, Robbie Robertson. So there's a long list.
It's really long. People go on Wikipedia and look Jerry up. It's a really long list.
It's a pretty long list, and it's a dirty job, and somebody's got to do it. I figured, Cher, by the way, which I will just say this: she was amazing, and it was one of my favorite records to do.
Wow, excellent.
We did that right here in Woodstock at Bearsville Studios. She was awesome. I mean, quiet, cool. One of the like no diva, no star thing, nothing. Just she went in the vocal booth. I went into the drum booth. Sometimes she tried to come in the drum booth with me. She would sneak in, follow me in. But that's going to be in the book. I'm not going to share that story.
I can't wait to read that one.
but no, but anyway, and then one thing has led to another, and here we are. And
so how did you hear these guys? How did you get hooked up with them?
That was a great story.
Well, it depends on whose story you want. Which story. You want my story or do you want their story? You know what? One of you guys tell a story. Who wants to tell their version of the story?
Real simple, Scott. We were rehearsing in Dave's studio, which we're at right now, and we wanted to record because everything was done. We said, you know what? Let's re-record all of our stuff that we want. And we started calling around studios in New York City, some of the big ones, and they were all booked up. You know, this is prior to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then we said, Woodstock, Dreamland, who's this? And then we started to see the people that recorded up there. So I said, you know what? Let's give this guy a call. You know, let's call Dreamland. We call, and Jerry picks up the phone. And
it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
That's Jerry MAROTTA. And I said, uh-oh, the drummer. You know, and I'm a drummer, right? So, you know, no big deal. Well, I'll tell you what, 2 hours later, Scott, we became friends and brothers, and we just feed off of one another. We couldn't wait to get up to Dreamland. When we got up there, it was like a tsunami went through the building. That's the way Jerry explains it. Just, Jesus Christ, you guys, you got me caught in Dreamland. And the rest is match made in heaven, man.
Wow.
You know, I don't like Brother from Another Mother. I don't like that. I never like that. But I came up with my variation.
Okay.
And it's really pertains to those three maniacs. Brother from Another Gutter. They're brothers from another gutter. You know, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island. You know, I'm from Westchester. You know, we either side of the Long Island Sound. That's a body of water between Long Island and Westchester. So anyway, we're brothers from another gutter.
I like it. I like it. Those are little dogs.
I agree. 2 more fans we just added.
So you were Outland. Why the change to OGD? Was it a copyright thing, or you just wanted to get your initials on an album?
It was complicated with that. Yeah, we did searches and everything. Then once we had the album done, things started to take a very, very serious turn.
Right.
We started our publishing company. We joined ASCAP. We formed an LLC. And before you know it, the lawyers are saying, you can't use Outland. I said, okay, great. So Hugh Syme, who I'm sure you've heard of him, he's the one who did all that album jacket.
Yep.
He came up with the OGD. He says, hey, let me take the first initial of everybody's last name and let me play with it a little bit. And he came up with a concept, turned it upside down, and said, that's it, OGD. I said, well, and it stuck, and that was the end of it. That's how we got it.
Thank you for this, by the way. This is awesome.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you can't keep it. You have to send it back.
Hey, I didn't see that record company stamp on there that said, for promotional use only.
As long as we're up in the top 10 of the playlist.
Well, we just added another song, so I hope that helps.
When that falls off, where are you in Florida?
Key Largo.
Oh, we're gonna have to talk about that in a minute. But we have people down there. You're gonna get, you gotta knock at the door. Hey,
right on.
Give us back the LP or play the record or else.
So how do we hook up with Hugh Syme to do this artwork that looks like it comes from a Rush or a Pink Floyd album?
Jerry says, he gives me a call in my office and he says, hey, we got to get some artwork for your album. I says, yeah, who are we going to get? He says, I don't know. I met this guy once, Hugh Syme, and the light bulb went off. He says, I think I got his number. So he calls him up and he says, Bobby, you got to call Hugh Syme this afternoon. He wants to talk to you. I called the guy up 2 hours later. He heard the music. We sent the files to him. He fell in love with the music. He said, I want to do a book for the entire album. So that book that's in that album is every song with a Hugh Syme original art-derived piece for the music. That's all his stuff. We get to use it for perpetuity, and he's just like another member of the band. He loves us.
That's incredible.
Great.
Do you know anything about Hugh? Hugh, do you know anything about Hugh at all?
Not personally, just his work. I mean, I own probably hundreds of his albums.
But he's also a keyboard player.
Oh, yeah.
He's an awesome musician. I've known, our paths have crossed a few times, mostly in Toronto. because otherwise he's like in Indiana or something, and whose path is going to cross
Indiana.
Forget about it. I forgot who is. Who is it? Is Pence? Was he the governor of Indiana? Was Mike Pence the governor of Indiana?
We'll leave that out for now.
That could explain a lot.
Well, that's explain a lot about why you don't want to go there. But anyway, but in Toronto, he goes back and forth. I like to go to Toronto. I spent a lot of time there. I produced a singer named Gowan, who's become Larry Gowan, who's been the keyboard player, replaced Dennis DeYoung in Styx about 20 years ago.
Right.
So I produced a couple of records of his. He was hugely successful up there. So we were, I've worked up there quite a bit with him, Sarah McLachlan, other artists I can't remember right now. So, and that's where Hugh and we kind of connected through a guy named Russ Mackey, who has a studio, also a producer, great guy. And he and Hugh are very close friends. So I don't know. Hugh and I started like talking to one another and meeting occasionally. And I mean, the guy is, he's brilliant. And,
he's great.
What I had seen was Hugh, Russ Mackey showed me, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a box set at retrospective of Rush that was it could have been 3-4 years ago. But I mean, it has everything in it. It's unbelievable.
No, haven't seen it.
LPs, it's got CDs, it's got artwork, you know what I mean? It's got tons and tons of stuff. It's incredibly impressive, as an artist like Rush would have with all of that.
As they should have.
Right. So I was looking at that. Rush showed me that, and I was like, I'd known of his work, but this was just like overwhelming.
Epic. Right.
Anyway, it worked out really well. It was great. It worked out great. And
well, I think the art goes with the music. As you said in what you wrote about the album, they do have this prog technicality, but it's very approachable, very melodic music. But there is a bit of technicality and some layers in there that would lend itself to this kind of artwork.
Right. And look, let's face it. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to monopolize the conversation, but I am happy to. Let's face the fact that now there aren't even CDs. Now there's nothing. I mean, now you want to look at artwork, you're going to be looking at it on this.
Mm-hmm.
And if your eyes are anything like mine, you can't see it. But look, I've been, and I remember when there were just LPs, just LPs. And, it was, Electric Ladyland, or Sergeant Pepper, wow, it's like you open it up, it's like, This is awesome. You could put it on your dresser, open it up. Or what was the band with the flute player? My mind
Jethro Tull.
Jethro Tull, Stand Up. Remember when you open it up and they popped out? I mean, these are things where you could actually put them when you're a teenager. You could dress up your room with stuff like that. I mean, there's nothing like that anymore.
No. Then we went through that cassette era where you had a little leaflet, and the CD era where they were tiny and small. But now we're back to, at least you can put some art on the wall like this.
Look, it's funny. The cassette era, if we'd open it up and it was like a CVS receipt. You open the cassette thing up, and if there's anything in there, you pull it out, and it's just like it's like a ticker tape.
I was in high school and met Def Leppard when they were opening for Billy Squier. Met him in Atlanta and got them all to sign the inside of the cassette. They were all drinking Heineken at the time. It was it was an interesting scene. Just little autographs.
A couple of my really, really close friends. One passed away about a year ago. Was the bass player in Billy's band.
Oh.
And Bobby Chenard, drummer, he burned out sadly. You knew it was, he's one of those guys you just knew he was not going to live, He's not going to see 80. That was for sure. And he was happy. He was happy to go when he went, you know.
Right.
But great bands, awesome bands.
So, guys, what do you like playing? I mean, you guys have played together for a little while. You had another name. I figure, as a power trio, you all contribute. But what's the glue that keeps you guys together?
The writing for me, Scott, keeps it together because every song is unique. Every song is connected to the next. That's why even when you listen to this album, it's to Jerry's point that we talked about over the summer. There's not a bad song in the album. It's all connected. It all tells a story, right? So it's that's the glue. Is the Derek's writing is insane, man. It's just it's an ongoing story that's going on.
Well, Derek's insane. So it stands to reason that he would write insane songs.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
I was giving them an opportunity there to just fill the void, you know, with
That's just
stories of love and brotherly love and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Derek and I kind of grew up. We started playing together really when we were teenagers. We lived on the same block in Brooklyn, so the love of rock and roll was strong. And then there was we gotta form a band. And Derek played a bit. He had some lessons. I really didn't at that point, but it was like our other friend, he was going to play guitar and someone had to play bass. That was me. And we've been playing, writing, jamming. We did that from early on. Like the whole idea of playing live and taking chances, you know, sometimes it could be seen as a bit sloppy here and there, but I remember listening to Zeppelin live and it's just like, man, those guys they're going out on a limb and they could fall off. And that was exciting. So
Yeah.
And you know, so the Giants, you know, early on, like in the Who too, they were like, man, these guys are at the edge of screwing up, but it's massive and it's unbelievable and it's so powerful. I don't know, that was the thing. And you know, so we played, we wrote, you know, we were always in bands. We played originals right from the get-go, and we played in cover bands too.
We freestyle. Freestyle, wrote
Yeah,
stuff.
we freestyled.
Wrote stuff on the spot.
Yeah, we did. We wrote stuff on the spot. All kinds of. There was always a lot of creativity, and then when we got out and we're grinding away, trying to make our way in the world, and when we're playing the scene in Manhattan, that's when we came across Bobby. You know, we were playing the same venue, and we heard Bobby. Bobby heard us, and we connected from there on.
That's great. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So there's a little tiny tidbit that I don't know why, but they don't like to like really push this. But I will say this: we're going to keep this between us. One of the things that brought Dave and Dio together was that they both had a skill that very, very few people have. They both repaired lava lamps. They were both lava lamp repairmen. And, there's two of them, and I think there's only 4 in the country. And I'm not sure that one of them is even alive still. So of the 3 lava lamp repairmen, they were 2. And, it's a dying art.
Totally.
Just like LPs, The next record, we're going to record it to lava. And then we're going to put it in your lava lamp, and it's going to float around. It's going to be like a Star Trek episode. As it's floating around, it's going to sing. It's going to sing to you. I'm in such good mood. I'm sorry.
What is that stuff in the middle of a lava lamp anyway?
It's lava. No, it's them. They're lava lamp.
Ask the expert. It's wax.
Yeah.
The bulb, because I know a lot about this, because being one of the repairmen, that's the bulb that's the heat source, and that's really in that bottom base. And
right. I've replaced several of those.
Right. Once the liquid heats up, the wax inside melts, and it starts, like an oil. It separates and it moves around. Jerry, you can identify with this. It moves around, with light and color. So that's why we all love fathom.
We love loud.
Okay. Anyway.
Moving on.
Moving on.
Now that we've done with the Spencer's commercial.
Yeah, okay.
People love comedy and they love inside information.
So that's a tidbit you won't get anywhere else.
Scott, here's a piece of inside information.
All right.
Uh-oh.
So, for all of your fans on Rockfile, there's a lot of people that want to know, how did they get that sound? Well, me, Jerry, Dio, Dave, we had this conversation. We wanted to go so old school, it hurt. And God bless Jerry, he has the old machines. We went reel to reel, 2-inch tape, old school, and then we would bounce it. But we wanted to get those harmonics, like the old Led Zeppelin's recordings.
Right.
There's a lot of harmonics back there that you don't know how it quite got there, but it's the inherent process of analog recording. And Jerry said, you know what? We're gonna go old school. And man, oh man, he had the equipment up to Dreamland to do this. We pulled it off. All of our basic tracks went reel to reel on 2-inch before we bounced them.
Wow. So it gives it that warm sound, that warm analog sound.
Very, very
Yeah.
cool. And it's more
Analog.
prevalent. It's more prevalent on the vinyl. You can really hear it, especially on the vinyl.
You know, not only did we go analog, but you know, at Dreamland, we have two 2-inch machines. You know what the two 2-inch tape machines. So we were only using one, and the other one was gathering dust in a storage room. So I said, look, we got to get this thing out. We moved into the control room, and I went looking for a 16-track head stack for it. So we recorded them on 2-inch tape, 16-track instead of 24, and that just gives it a little more, cojones. I don't know. It's a little more of that the jazz, and so that's kind of the ultimate. I think for analog, maybe 1-inch 8-track is another variation, but 16-track 2-inch is pretty much like the ideal situation.
And then you transfer that into the digital domain to layer it and do other things to it.
You know what? We didn't know what we were going to do.
Right.
We weren't sure, but it was a decision. It was a technical decision I had to make, and it worked out really best that we did that. I mean, it would be nice to stay in analog, but the way we were working on the record, fleshing out the ideas for the song ideas were there, arrangements were pretty much there mostly, and then but just working on parts, guitar parts, Dio, like I heard them come, they first came up to rehearse one day. That was really what got me interested. They didn't necessarily say, we want you to produce us. They were coming up, they wanted a big room, they wanted to get set up and really cut loose, and Dreamland is perfect for that. So, but when they set up and I started listening to what they were doing, then I realized these guys are good, very good, and I like this, and I could bring something to the table, which is the only way I'll do work on any record. And I tricked them into letting me produce the record. And they listened. We collaborated, but I have a lot more experience. Nothing else.
So you kind of took over.
My experience in recording in the studio is pretty extensive.
Right.
So,
Scott, why reinvent the wheel? We got Jerry, right?
Right.
So,
we
had the tunes. We just needed that guy to just push us hard, push us against the wall, and make it work. And the product speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I love the album. Why do we call it The Big Game? What does that mean? Or should we not give that away?
No, you signed.
Cat's out of the bag.
You came up with that for us, because it's if you look at all the artwork that you created for us, it's all about the big game. If you look at the gatefold of the album, you'll see this huge rack of pool balls and these 5 tiny people next to it. That's the big game.
You know, you can read into it whatever you like, and wow, it's beautiful.
It is.
But you know, really, honestly, more and more, the music business has been diminished, big time. You know, and I think I love that the way Hugh approached it was, you know, screw all of that. This is like, I don't want to say old school because it's not old. I actually, you know, it's just in your face, you know, rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't call it progressive.
Not really.
I call it regressive. I think that's my name for it. It's regressive, you know, because I mean, in looking back, it's going forward. You know what I'm saying? It's going back and utilizing these things that were these awesome things like 2-inch tape analog,
Right.
And a big, you know, people are making records now in their bedrooms,
Right.
you know, and
winning best engineered album of the year at that as well.
absolutely, no question. So I like that he kind of like, he's like, you know what, screw all of that. This is big, you know. It's everything about it is big, and the artwork, the album, the LP, it's all, you know.
It's a big package, yeah. It's epic looking.
Music and the band. It's like
What we're shooting for, right?
everything is like been minimized. Everything's been minimized.
Exactly.
Right.
Go big or go home.
Well, right. And I'm a music fan. I mean, I will support the bands. I buy the CDs. I buy the albums. I still want a piece of that because one day these streaming things are going to go away, and then what are you going to listen to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're already finding with movies and TV shows, you know, Netflix loses some. If you really like that movie, you can't watch it anymore. Why don't you just buy it, own it, you know?
Well, yeah, and that's I think another reason we went for the package, because you could stream, you can listen, you can go on YouTube. You know, there are lots of ways to listen to music, but the excitement of, you know, of the package, you know,
Mm-hmm.
now you have something, you have the music.
Yep.
But you also have this whole set of media, artwork, lyrics, photos. You know, that's exciting. So that's something to hang on to.
You want the eye candy. You know, you're sitting there listening to the music. You can't read a CD, but now you can open up the book, follow the words, look at the picture that you signed, said the song sounds like this.
Read lyrics.
Read the lyrics. I mean, this is what people want to do. You know?
That's how I was raised in the 70s. I'd sit down with Hotel California or News of the World or whatever, and I would read the lyrics while the music's playing, and that's how I learned what a producer was, and you know, and that kind of thing.
Nothing up this way with the.
Yeah, but you know, and there's a lot of technical musicians out there that want to read. Why did they do it? Who was our guest? You know, we had a couple of guest musicians come on. Danny Weiss was one of them. They did some keyboards for us.
Yeah.
You know, people want to read these things. They don't want to have to go on the internet. So that's why this is so important to bring this back. Tower Records, and we all know who they were. Well, they're back. Tower Records is now going to have this album as an exclusive. As an exclusive, this is going on Tower Records, right? Because they're all about vinyl. Vinyl is going to overtake CDs if it hasn't already.
They already did.
So it's coming back. Tower's coming back. We're going to be an exclusive Tower Records album that's going to be sold on their website now. And we're very excited that, you know, people will want to get back into reading about the technical stuff, reading the words, looking at the pictures, all the icons.
You can tell we're a little excited about it, huh?
That's awesome. That is an incredible news.
And you know, I can't say it enough times. Thank you. You know, because when did you hear music first? You know, the first time I heard Jerry play on anything, well, Orleans, right?
Right.
Peter Gabriel on the radio. You know, and the radio was really, you know, like you mentioned FM radio, man, that was key. It was just so important.
That's how we all learned about new music.
Right.
We heard it on the radio, and then we went and bought the album.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
But, you know, FM radio and DJs, to some degree, having the freedom to pick stuff and play it. You know, I mean, of course, I know I'm 64. So, but I remember like WNEW in New York and Scott Mooney and what was the couple of Zachary, and then there was a woman, the Nightbird. What's her, you know?
Allison Steele.
Allison Steele.
And even Jonathan Schwartz, who had went on to being doing like he was a heavy Sinatra fan, and he went from NEW FM to AM and playing a lot of that stuff. But you know, we all, you know, you'd be so excited about they were gonna premiere the Beatles' White Album, you know? Right? Like on a Tuesday night at 7. I mean, you couldn't hear that anywhere else. You know, you couldn't find that, and you know that was a interesting. Not to sound like an old fogey, but that was a great thing. It really made you want the music even more. Well, and the fact that you didn't have it, like you weren't surrounded by it. It was, you know, you had to go buy the record, and you went and made sure you were in front of the stereo when 7 o'clock on Tuesday night rolled around, and they were gonna premiere Electric Ladyland, or a record like that.
When I got into radio, it was the mid-'80s. I was working in college radio, and somebody offered me a real job at an FM Top 40 station. But I worked with some old school guys that said the program director is the gatekeeper. And you need to, you know, you can't play everything. You need to have good ears, and you need to know what a good song is. And we kind of like, you know, we picked the music. It wasn't, nowadays it's like follow the charts, don't get too far ahead, don't be early on, you know. And I'm like, no, if it's a great song, I developed the relationship that everybody knows that I listen to everything that comes across my desk. I may not like everything, but I will listen to every single thing, so I have an opinion about it. And this OGD album came across my desk, and I listened to it, and we got to play this. And Young Love was a little bit complicated for my hard rock station, so I put it on my prog station, and people liked it.
I'm gonna guess that when you were DJing, you didn't choose to do that because you were going to become a multimillionaire.
Oh, absolutely not. I've never made any money in the radio industry. I do it because I love it.
This is the job. Well, some of us are Italian, and we can't tell you how we made that money. But we did make that money. But the you know, this was a labor of love, no question at all. I mean, you
can hear it.
You know, you had to want to be sitting there by yourself, you know, and playing. There was a little bit of a cool thing, like not a power thing, but an ego thing. Like you're on the radio and people are listening to you and you get to play stuff. You know, they probably had certain things they wanted you to play.
Sure.
And then a certain amount of stuff, you're allowed to just play whatever you want. So anyway, that's the beauty of that. And I don't know how much that, well, I don't know. I don't know what that's like anymore.
Well, these days, like I said, I left the industry because I was told, play less new music. And I'm like, well, we're a 30-year heritage rock station that's always played the best of the new and the best of the old stuff. Why do you want to, you know, there's still going to be new stuff coming out. These bands are touring, that kind of thing.
When were you in college radio? 82?
I was in college radio 1984 to 1985, and then I got a real job.
And you know what? I know this for a fact. You were if you stuck it out about 2-3 more years, you would have gotten a job at Geffen Records. And we don't have to talk about this right now, but I worked on projects, and I saw the transition and I was playing with Tim Finn, touring with 10,000 Maniacs.
Oh, wow.
And they added a group to perform at a show at Red Rocks, and they were called the Indigo Girls. And they had a breakout record with no promotion. It was all college radio.
Yep.
It was college radio. You could play anything you wanted to. Play anything you want.
And we did.
And I watched that transition, And then I watched the majors dive in. And then a couple of years later, I'm working on a record with T-Bone Burnett and Mitchell Froome in LA. And a girl from the label shows up from Geffen Records. And she was a college radio girl programmer. I'm sure they bought her with a job.
Right.
I'm sure that they bought her with a job, like they had her playing what they wanted her to play, you know, and that ultimately her reward was that when she was out of school, she moved to LA and she got a job at
Geffen.
And hopefully they fired her pretty quickly because she came into the studio. And it was a Peter Case record, who had been in a band called the Plimsolls, T-Bone, all these like heavyweights. She came in, she started talking about the music. She left. No one could say anything for 10 minutes. It was like everybody sat there looking at their feet, like it's like dumbfounded at this girl who didn't have a clue as to what she was talking about. Anyway. That's the college radio story.
Woohoo!
And when it ended. So there's no more college radio. Well, maybe there is now, but back then, you know, the majors just dove in there.
They did. And then alternative became a real format, and that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother conversation.
All right.
So what are future plans for OGD? You guys were rehearsing today. I guess we're all on that positive outlook that things are going to improve and you can get out there on the road.
Oh yeah. Well, with that is the plan, to get out there. It's, you know, we have enough connections. Once this thing breaks open, we'll be out there for sure. And we have enough material to go back and do 2 more albums.
Really? But this one just came out.
Definitely in the cards. We'll be back in Greenland for sure. Cranking out number 2.
That sounded funny.
You know, it's a little constricting now.
Yeah, as you get older, cranking out number 2 is a whole nother thing, you know.
As long as it
I
doesn't
can
hurt.
relate to that.
So, guys, the album is out. It's available now. As we just found out, you can get it at Tower Records on that sweet vinyl.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Bandcamp, OGD.
Yeah, if you're digital like the rest of the world, you can go to Bandcamp and get it and just download the files.
Yeah, we're tracking on Spotify as well. We actually are tracking pretty good.
That's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, nothing better than Rockfile.
That's right.
No, really.
Well, I went back and
seriously.
we need to figure out some singles because I went back and picked an older song just because I didn't know what you guys would, you know, want to push next. So
Push whatever you like.
Yeah.
I think I speak for the band when I say push whatever you want.
You know, you use your musical instincts, and you know, something you feel. Please
Scott.
feel free to play all of it.
well, you got it.
Scott, you got the ear. Scott, you got a great ear. You got 10 great songs there. I'm sure whatever you pick, we'll be very happy. That's for sure.
I appreciate that. And it's very rare that we get that kind of freedom because it's usually only play this single, make sure you play this edit, you know, that kind of thing.
Scott, I'm just going to show you this. Look to your right. Look behind you.
I have Deadpool on a unicorn. You have a unicorn.
Are you a unicorn guy? I'm a unicorn guy.
And that sounded weird too.
So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, man.
Well, we're gonna have to do this again. I think this was fun.
We'd love to. Thank you so much again. Thanks.
It's my pleasure to play great music. That's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Thanks,
You guys
Scott.
just keep making it. Thanks for taking the time, guys. I'm going to post this all over the place, send you links. Please share and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Stay safe.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.